President.
Councilor Petrozelli.
Present.
Councilor McGrattan.
Present. Clerk, will please read the minutes from our last meeting.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we move the dispense of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I second that. Second as is. Call roll.
Councilor Petrozelli.
In favor.
Councilor McGrattan.
In favor.
Mayor Manning.
In favor. Reports from officers, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight I can announce that the Phase 2 of the water infrastructure project is substantially complete. The only pieces left to that is the emergency interconnect for water service between the City of Watervliet and Menands. It has been placed. They're just putting the finishing touches on that, and then that phase will be completely finished. But no more effects on the public. Just a little bit of restoration work down there. Throughout the process, there's been a lot of input from the public, and at a previous meeting, a representative from the engineering firm, Weston & Sampson, David Boyer, was here to answer any questions. So this summer, we also had another non-city infrastructure project that took place. National Grid replaced gas mains along 16th Street, 6th Avenue, and 8th Avenue. A request was made for representatives from National Grid to attend tonight and explain the project and answer any questions that the council might have. So I would like to introduce the lead program manager for Upstate New York East Community and Customer Management, Bob Chevy, and the Director of Community and Customer Management, Lori Poltinsky. We're both here from National Grid to speak on any matters that the council would like to in regards to National Grid's work this summer. So, welcome.
Thank you for having us. We approach.
Come over to the podium.
Oh,
Get some volume.
thank you, Jeremy.
Well,
As Jeremy stated, my name is Lori Poltinsky. I'm the Director of Customer and Community for National Grid in Menands. I think many of you know Bob Chevy. He grew up in Watervliet, so he has the benefit of knowing the streets much better than I do. But we did have a major project throughout the summer that happened. What we were doing, in case you don't know, is there was cast iron pipe in the ground. So we are doing major repairs to any cast iron pipe that we can, and so we replaced cast iron pipe with either steel or plastic throughout the streets on 6th, 8th, and 16th Street. So that's the project. We are trying to prevent any cast iron from leaking, so we wanted to replace the pipe and get a safer infrastructure in the ground here in Watervliet. So Bob is the account manager here for the City of Watervliet, and he's been meeting with Jeremy. We understand we were late starting the project, and then we took much longer to do the project than we had anticipated. So Bob and I are here tonight to try to take care of any concerns that are yet remaining. We did finish today, thank goodness, cleaning up the rest of any curbing that was left and any of the cold patch that needed to go down. So hopefully you'll be able to get through the winter with plowing and so forth in a much better way than you have been up until today. So you have my apologies for the length of time it took us to not only start but finish the project. And Bob has been working with Jeremy on what we hope to do next year. There's more cast iron that will need to be replaced. But Bob and I will take any questions and answer any questions the council may have or any residents, and we will take down any concerns and make sure they get addressed. So thank you for having us. Bob, do you want to add anything?
In the meeting that we had, I think it was a pretty productive meeting, but I think the major concern that I had and what the residents were more upset with was what we called, quote unquote, the temporary restoration. It was always indicated that we were going to have a temporary patch in there, and that was fine, but those temporary patches sunk maybe 6, 8, 10 inches, washed out with rain. We like that for days, and that was the major complaint. We had and I think that was it. I mean, the timing was a problem, and I think I might have another question to address the timing. The timing was, if it took longer to do, well then so be it, that maybe needed to be done. But I think the major complaints that we had with the residents was basically that temporary patch, that strip going up and down the curbside, where they would throw in their cold patch and it would sink 6, 8 inches, and nobody was able to go in there, back and forth. We had, that. I know the problems with the waiting for the paving, around the manholes, or those in that area there was only made matters worse because we couldn't do anything until we got the streets done. But I think if I was to speak for anybody who was really more upset about anything, It was that temporary restoration. And I basically, when I complained about it to, there was a fellow, he promised me that was going to be taken care of. That patch might have been corrected, and that other patch reappeared. So it was never really a follow-through thing. It was always constant, that they had a problem with.
Yeah, so I think our crews did the gas main installation, and then we had contractor crews that did the repair work. So definitely some lessons learned here. We've met with Jeremy and the mayor the other day. We've taken a lot of notes. Bob and I plan to get together with our operations crews over the winter and take back, some of the feedback that we're hearing, and hope that we do a much better job next year.
Yeah, that's one. The other question I had was there was a conversation that you had that due to the fact of National Grid being late, we incurred extra charges.
So it delayed our project, so
We know that.
delays in the project caused, there was extra charges because of the delays, yes.
Okay, do you have a number yet on that?
Yeah, I'm having the engineers and the contractors work on that, as well as HMA. Anjo, HMA, Weston and Sampson are working on those numbers now.
So who's going to be responsible for that? Is it going to be National Grid?
We asked Jeremy to get the numbers together, and then we have a claims process that we would, Bob's going to work with Jeremy on the application for a claim, and we'll have to go through that process.
That was the response at the meeting that the mayor and I had.
What streets are you going to be paving next year?
We're going to be working on 14th Street and 13th Street. We're basically working our way from the 23rd Street area down. So this year it was 16th Street, next year it'll be right around 14th Street and 13th Street. There's a 3-year plan in the works that I'll give Jeremy. I gave it to him last year. It's updated for the next 3 years, so he'll be getting that probably in February, March.
So it's all uptown, no downtown?
I believe,
All uptown work?
yeah, I believe downtown's all finished. It's been updated.
So based on the information that I received from Bob this year, both ends of the city have been completed and kind of moving towards the middle. And that's what this was, the center of the city, now moving towards the Arsenal wall. So it looks like 14th and 13th, and in between there, and then 12th, 11th, 10th, all the way back over the next 3 years.
Comment? Sure. In due respect to the two representatives, really your company took advantage of the city, first of all, by not having a staging area. They had equipment all over the place, they had gravel all over the place, in the streets, etc. Now, you're not all to blame. Part of the blame goes to the city. And really, and I hate to keep mentioning it, man, it falls back on the general manager. He should have been on top of it, directing and telling you people that this is not acceptable. Having equipment and whatnot, you have to have a staging area when you're doing a job like that. So I believe in the future that should be done. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. We will take that and look for an area for next year's work.
Anybody else?
I have a question that was brought up in a meeting last night by a resident on 16th Street. He wants to know who's responsible for cleaning all the dirt and dust that is on all the homes along 16th Street caused by all the construction that took place
On the actual siding
on the houses and unfortunately inside too, but they're more concerned with the exterior of this time. Whether it's National Grid who's going to take care of it, or the city's going to take care of it, or are they stuck with the cost of doing it themselves?
Do you have an address? We can take a look at it. We have a restoration team. We'll have to look at it and give them
I'll give you the homeowner's
That'd be
name.
great. Thank you.
Well, I first want to thank you both, because I know the meeting that we had, I appreciate it. I know Bob was cringing when I asked him to come tonight. But I do appreciate you coming, at least addressing it if anybody else had any questions. But I do thank you anyway, and I thank for your responses. And hopefully next year, whenever we do it, we can get, I know we have contact now, and if there's something that we have handled. It just seemed to be, I know Jeremy was on it, I know we promised me, it was working with you all the time, but I think you guys fell through, or Greg fell through on following through on the promise to take care of that.
Yes, so we've been working closely with Jeremy. Jeremy has indicated we need to do better on the follow-through, so we will work on that. We've already spoken to the supervisors in charge of the crews, and Jeremy has both our numbers. So if you need us in the future, please reach out to Bob or I.
I got Bob's number.
Yeah, Bob he can run, but he can't hide. You all know who he is, so.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comment.
Brought it up last night. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't have to say. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, back on the agenda, Scott, old business.
Yeah, so for old business tonight, we did this last week, and it seemed to work pretty well, so I wanted to do the same. During the public comment period, some comments are made, and some replies are looked for, and so the council has asked me to respond to any comments from the public comment period. So specifically, we had some statements and questions from Mr. Ubon. So I have 3 replies to those. The first one's lights on 19th Street. Seems to be a continuing, ongoing issue with the lights on 19th Street. And did send the contractor out there. I know that some were fixed. The ones that were not coming on are now on. The ones that were not turning off, I know for a fact that at one point when I looked, they were all off, but I was told today that one might still be staying on during the day. So we have sent them out there to fix that, to repair those. So if you do see any more of those, please let me know, and I can get the contractor back out there for those.
Some that don't turn on at all.
Yeah, there was one specifically, because I went that night and I drove down 19th Street, right on the corner, the south-west corner of 19th and 9th. Specifically, that one was off. I know that one was repaired, and then one's up on the hill.
Wiswall Avenue, corner of Wiswall, 19th Street, right across the street. Both of them are never on.
And those two were reported that they were off, and those were asked to be fixed. I was informed that they were fixed, but I'll follow back up on those as well.
One at the corner of 12th and 19th. It's like a strobe light. Off and on, off and on.
Okay. Thank you. Potholes on 12th Avenue were brought up. We had a report that there were potholes on 12th Ave. We filled those. Sounds like they popped back up again. Obviously, this time of year, we're not able to, to use the right patching for it. So if they do come up, we will cold patch it. But we're going to revisit that area in the spring to do an apron right there. Saw cut it out and redo it there. Areas where we have multiple potholes, obviously it becomes like a rumble strip when you're driving over it, so the best way to do that is with an apron.
Right.
And then the last one I had, the seam on 6th, we can all agree that it's, I'll use the word atrocious. It's really bad. It looks really bad. I can say that for that seam, the DOT approved joint adhesive was used for it, so the expectation is that would hold. But I've been in touch with HMA, who is the paving contractor there, and we've come to an agreement that in the spring, if we don't see, and I don't know why they believe that after the winter that it would look better. I mean, it would only get worse, but they've agreed that they will come back and rosebud the seam to try and do something there and see if they can make it better. But we will revisit that seam in the spring, and HMA has assured us that they will come back and work on it as well. So I know that seam is a big problem that was actually brought up when it was being paved right to them.
Well, I don't want you to think I'm an authority or whatnot, you having some knowledge.
Yeah.
When you have a cold joint and you pull it up against it, it never works out. That's why you try and do it simultaneously, where the roller can roll it into each other.
Correct.
What it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do about it now. Only monitor it and bring up your warranty if there's such a thing.
And then-
What are they gonna do about the warranty? They're gonna give you a whole new road? I don't know.
We'll find out if and when it comes to that. So those are responses that will, and again, we'll try and do that in old business as often as we can as the council directs me to answer any comments or questions from previous meetings. So
Thank you for answering.
you're welcome. That's all I have for old business.
Okay. New business?
In new business, we have ordinance number 1992, an ordinance of the City of Waterville adopting the annual estimate and fixing the rate to be employed and computing the amount to be collected for the city taxes for the year beginning January 1st, 2019.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we move on this resolution.
I second that. Ordinance.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any discussion?
So this is the ordinance that sets the tax levy and the subsequent tax rate for 2019. Previously, I presented a budget to the council and to the public that called for a 5.9% increase in the tax rate. Over the past 2 weeks, I was able to reduce that amount to 4.4%, and that was based on 3 factors. First was negotiating with our workers' comp insurance and negotiating with another liability insurance company. We were able to reduce each of those costs down a total of $49,000 between the 2 of those. $29,000 in our workers' comp insurance expenditures expectation, and $20,000 in our liability and casualty insurance. We have a new liability, we will have a new liability and casualty insurer, and it's Travelers Insurance, which is the largest municipal insurer in the United States. Also, along with that is actually in, not significant, but also has a bit of better coverage as well for some specific areas. So we lose nothing by way of coverage, and yet we're able to get our costs down. So we're happy to have accomplished that. The other major change is an additional revenue that we're able to recognize on the budget. This past year, Director of Finance Mike McNeff had recommended to the council that we join NICLAS, which is allows us to invest our monies that we have in the bank. After reviewing this year's outcomes, which were a short year, Mike was able to recognize a $20,000 revenue for 2019. So that has been placed into the revenue section of the budget in the interest on deposits area. So those were the things that we were able to do over the last 2 weeks to reduce the tax increase. So it will be a 4.4% increase. This is being presented to the council for a vote, this being our last meeting of the year. It's a culmination of 7-8 months worth of work to be able to put this together, work done by all departments, the council and the public, because we were very comprehensive in our reviews of the budget this year. So with all of that said, I do recommend to the council the approval of this ordinance setting the levy and rate for 2019.
Question of Mike. Where do you find the money to deposit? Where do you come up with the monies?
Just the interest income on our deposits, that's what it is.
So it's paying us more, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the NICLAS was an option that was opted into mid-level, of course. And it's 2+% right now, which is relative to the 0.2% we were getting.
Over here. So we put our money in the bank, we get 2% interest.
Instead of 0.2.
Instead of what's
What was the final?
2.25. It might have bumped up another quarter. I mean, beyond this month, but
I mean, I'm
Fed, that's the Fed.
We
Our
can't-
options are
we
quite
can't
limited.
invest it in higher return, riskier.
Oh, but I mean, in the average, you can go out and get a CD right now, 3.10.
Yeah, well, this is really our checking account. This is our
money that we turned over.
Yeah,
Oh, it's the payment.
this is our checking account.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
good question.
sorry.
We can recommend the higher one.
What was the final discussion on the, on that building maintenance area we had?
Yeah, so to kind of clarify what we were talking about there, we previously had a employee who would do maintenance on our buildings, whatever it was, usually in City Hall, a door, repairing an office if we needed that. It's an old building, so things that come up, trying to repair the heat, whatever it might be, those base repairs. So we took that, that employee was moved to a different department, we took that out of the budget. And so to cover costs related to that, we put a placeholder number in the budget of $20,000 for any type of work that we might need done on our buildings through 2019. And we based that on pretty much what was expensed this year on that, because this is the first year that we started to contract that out. So obviously when you have an employee that's making $45,000 and you can not have to pay that plus the benefits and fringe to that, and you can handle it with the contractors that, only budgeting for $20,000. So when we were originally talking about this, we were talking about preventative maintenance and things like that. So we have a couple preventative maintenance companies that work with us, do a lot of our heaters and things like that. And so what we were talking about there was if we could consolidate all of our preventative maintenance into one, we could use that that portion of money if the contract was more than just what we have from, say, Stance Combustion to come and blow out our boilers and things like that. But it's the option of what we can do with the money that's there. Either put it into some sort of a preventative maintenance contract with somebody if it increased, or keep it the way it is and be able to utilize that money when needed. So for those repairs.
I don't have a problem with like a mechanical somebody coming in, saying they're checking over your furnace and doing annual, updates and cleaning and things like that sort. That's usually the preferred maintenance.
And that's what we have now.
Oh, great, okay. And that's what we're intending to keep?
Correct.
Right, okay. But we're not looking to have somebody come in and take a look around and say, I think we need to replace it.
Well, no, not specifically that.
Okay.
Not to say, hey, the paint's chipping, you should scrape it off.
Right.
You can obviously say
Okay.
Charlie, I think that was our job.
That was our, that's what we volunteered.
That's what the email said, I'm holding on to that.
We volunteered for that. Yeah, I don't have any other, really wasn't much here to bite off. And thanks for going the extra mile for
We always do that.
insurance.
It just takes till the 11th hour to really get those down because of, where we're at and how quickly they come in. But really the switch to Travelers Insurance was a really big help. Our liability and casualty insurance has been a big issue. And to have a company like that be able to come in at the end and meet with them, it's a real pleasant surprise to have that reduction.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, great job. We're basically down to the increase in health insurance.
Yes, yeah, the increase in health insurance is just over 4%, so that's basically what our increase is this year. It's really tied to health insurance.
Okay, let's call the roll then.
Councilman Petroselli?
In favor.
Councilman McGrattan?
In favor.
Mayor Manning?
In favor.
Up next, we have resolution number 9554. Council of the City of Waterville hereby authorizes and directs Scott O'Reilly, City Clerk and Clerk to the Council, to advertise once in the official newspaper of the city that the City of Waterville is implementing a residential home rehabilitation grant program, and that the City of Waterville is developing a contractor list of those home rehabilitation contractors interested in participating in the program.
I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution number 9554 as written.
I'll second.
Session.
So we have a grant coming up again, housing rehab, another round of that, and this is basically just calling any contractors that would like to potentially bid on any of this housing rehab work to contact us and have their names added to the list.
When we advertise, how long is it for? A week, a weekend,
One day.
One day.
one day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm required. Okay, call the roll.
Councilman Petroselli?
In favor.
Councilman McGrattan?
In favor.
Mayor Manning?
In favor.
Next, the Council of the City of Waterville hereby authorizes and directs Scott O'Reilly, City Clerk to the Council, to advertise in the official newspaper of the city that a public hearing will be held in the J. Leo O'Brien Senior Citizen Center in Waterville, New York, on Thursday, January 3rd, 2019 at 7 p.m. for the purpose of hearing those persons who wish to be heard regarding proposed local law number 1 for the year 2019. A local law to amend Chapter 230, Sewers of the Code of the City of Waterville, regarding establishing and imposing sewer rents for the sewer billing periods of November 1st, 2018 through April 30th, 2019, and May 1st, 2019 through October 31st, 2019.
Mayor, I make a motion that we move on this resolution.
I second that.
Discussion?
So this is a continuation of the process as far as the sewer rate goes. At the last meeting, the council approved the water rate, and after consideration, the council has come back and we have drafted this local law, which is very comparable to the water, where vacant units and vacant properties are charged 50% of the flat rate per unit. The results of that results in a 2.5%, roughly 2.5% increase in the rate in total. That is equal to $4.56 for each unit for a flat charge, and equal to a $10 increase on the minimum for the metered rate. So this particular resolution is for a publication for a public hearing at the next meeting, which is January 3rd. The local law will be available in the city clerk's office and will also be posted online on the city's website for review. And again, January 3rd public hearing. Hopefully we can move forward with it at that time.
Okay. Call the roll.
Councilman Petrozelli.
In favor.
Councilman McGrattan.
In favor.
Mayor Manning.
Favor?
Next, we have resolution number 9556. The Council of the City of Waterville hereby accepts and approves the proposal from Russ Reeves Civil Engineering with an address of P.O. Box 1433, Troy, New York, for engineering services regarding a repair and rehabilitation project at the Waterville Community Center building located at 1501 First Avenue, and further authorizes and directs Mayor Michael P. Manning to execute an agreement between the City of Waterville and Russ Reeves Civil Engineering, and authorizes the expenditure of $18,000 for said engineering services.
I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution number 9556 as written.
I'll second.
Discussion?
So once again, we've been talking a lot in recent months about the grant that we were awarded to rehab the church across the street, former Dutch Reformed Church that is being called the Community Center. Russ Reeves is a structural engineer with a long history working with municipal government and on grant work, and recently specifically on rehabbing churches as well. This is a great proposal which is well below the estimated cost for engineering on this project, and there's some ancillary benefits to this where Mr. Reeves will be using his knowledge to help some of the city staff to complete some of the work that can be done there. So not only will we be saving money by having our own staff be able to do the work, but they're also going to be learning some of the work in the process from a structural engineer with 40 years of experience. So just a great proposal that we're lucky to have, and if you've ever met Russ Reeves, it's always good to have him around. He's a real positive influence on the people that he's around, and he's an excellent structural engineer. So I recommend this resolution proposal to the council.
Questions?
Chairman, yes. As I text you, my question is, once the city crew, forces, cannot accomplish a task, or do not want to attempt that task, then that task goes out to bid?
Yeah, so we'll be working on, with the city forces, the work that needs to be done there to clean out some of the structural work and those types of things throughout the winter. Basically, we're saying, in between snowflakes, they'll be in there taking care of that. And so anything that's not completed by the end of the winter, when we get in the spring, we're ready to go to bid, that will be the spec for the project as we move forward. So anything that we're not able to complete will be placed on the bid spec to go out to bid. And then it will be bid on, and then that's how it will be.
So all work that we cannot do will be bid on by contractors?
Yes.
And the best bid wins the contract?
Yes. Lowest responsible bidder. Yes. We'll probably, I'd say we go out to bid probably, we'll wait until we talk to Russ about it, but probably, mid to late spring, and probably have the project take place throughout the summer. We can get it done in that timeline. But we have until next December to get the project completed, substantially complete, so we're on path to get it.
Supervisor Mark Cady is in favor of this?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
can talk to him,
Yeah.
obviously.
I mean, actually, the guys are excited because they're going to get to learn from somebody different. They're going to get to hear from somebody different, and it's going to teach them things that they might not be able to learn, you know, on their own here. So it's a great training. It's really, it's kind of hard to measure the cost benefit of that.
And it will help us out in financial loss.
Absolutely, sure. Otherwise, this would probably cost us, over $500,000 for this project. So this keeps it down closer to the $300,000 grant.
And it keeps our city forces working.
Yes, it does, absolutely.
What's the building going to be used?
Yeah, so it's a community center, but similar to what we have the Civic Center for. But the Civic Center is more for sports and recreation type activities. This would be more arts activities, but the council could deem to use it for any other matters. It was thought of before to be used for meetings like this, zoning and planning meetings. But I can tell you right now, I think Tom Augusta already has a schedule for an entire year of what he'd like to do in that church with presentations and viewings and some other things. So the Historical Society will be using it a lot, but musical events, maybe a movie night with the kids, but really a true community center and more focused towards the arts and recreation.
Sounds good.
I'm all set.
All right, call the roll, Seth.
Councilor Patricello.
In favor.
Councilor McGrattan.
In favor.
Mayor Manning.
In favor.
Next, we have resolution number 9557. The Council of the City of Waterville hereby determines that the Waterville Downtown Revitalization Initiative Study is a Type 2 action and that no further action or review relative to this project is required.
Mayor, I make a motion that we move on this resolution.
Second that.
Thank you. Discussions?
So this is another grant that the city has and is moving forward with. It's for an economic development study for the city. This particular resolution is stating that since it is a study, it is a Type 2 action according to seeker, which means it really has no environmental impacts and no further action or review is necessary.
What would be the study?
The study is what can be done for in the city's downtown district, so it'll dedicate the downtown district, and it'll say what modifications or what upgrades can be made to enhance economic development in that corridor. And the study could be used to turn into the state for the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, which is a $10 million grant to revitalize the city's downtown. Recently, Albany was awarded this past year, Hudson the year before, and Glens Falls the year before that. We do it in each one of the regions. So somebody next year is going to give it to this region and so on, as long as the state continues to do that. So this puts us in preparation to be able to apply for that. But also it's a study that we can use and follows along with the current city comprehensive plan.
It's downtown 19th Street, 30th Avenue.
So
What do you look at?
part of the study will be to determine what that downtown is. Preliminarily, it looks like it's the 19th Street, 2nd Avenue hub right there. It's more of the commercial hub to determine the downtown, but that will all be part of the study. And there'll be a lot of there'll be public meetings as the study progresses once we follow the steps to get there. So this will go out for proposals once we get to that point, and then we'll receive those proposals and we'll be putting together an RFP prior to that. But it's likely that it'll be the 19th Street, 2nd Avenue area, because it's where the city center is and the commerce hub, but always possible that it can be in different areas. Public input will have a vast effect on how this study comes out. Stay tuned.
Is this money for,
Hold on a second, hold on a second, hold on.
is this money for businesses or for the city to make it look cleaner, neater, prettier?
This specifically is just for the study, but the study is going to answer those types of questions. What can it be used for? Is it, rehabbing all of 19th Street? Is it, doing something different to the bridge? Is it, different things like that? It can, how far it can go is.
Can that be used, you were talking about putting a walkway from that down to the shore line?
Very possible.
Can that be used for that?
Yep.
So
There's really nothing that's off the table when it comes to this, and that's why, when they, usually in these, they'll come in here and they'll set up some boards and they'll want, feedback from everybody in the city, what do you want to see, what's most important, and they're going to take that information and use it to put together the study, so that's why I say that the public's input is paramount in this process.
Yes, I started to say I'm confused, and it doesn't take very much to confuse me. But all my life, I always thought that 19th Street area was uptown, and downtown was Port Schuyler area. I've been wrong for the last 80 years.
So you want us to change to the Uptown Revitalization Center?
Yeah.
I think,
What we would rather.
Well, this is just a study, and the name of the project could come out of the study.
I hope it makes sense.
It's called that specifically because that's what the state calls it, is the downtown revitalization center.
That's why I was trying to get a clarification on 19th Street versus 3rd Avenue, where were we looking? But it's a general.
Only Waterville people call Port Schuyler downtown. We're all Waterville people.
Let's do the study. Call the roll, Scott.
Councilman Petroselli.
In favor.
Councilman McGrattan.
In favor.
Mayor Manning.
In favor.
Next, we have resolution number 9558. The Council of the City of Waterville hereby authorizes the appropriation of CDBG program income for the Waterville Housing Rehabilitation Program and the implementation of the Waterville Housing Improvement Program.
Motion to accept resolution number 9558 as written.
I'll second.
Discussion.
So this again is in regards to the housing rehab grant for 2019, and this resolution specifically is authorization from the council of the city to move forward with the grant.
Sounds good. Call the roll.
Councilman Petroselli.
In favor.
Councilman McGrattan.
In favor.
Mayor Manning.
In favor.
Next, we have resolution number 9559. The Council of the City of Waterville hereby affirms the commitment to pay for program administration and program delivery costs connected to the Waterville Housing Rehabilitation.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we move on this resolution.
I second that.
Discussion.
Once again, housing rehab grant. This is to say that the monies can come into the city for administering this grant process.
Okay. Good. Call the roll.
Councilman Petroselli.
In favor.
Councilman McGrattan.
In favor.
Mayor Manning.
In favor.
And we have resolution number 9560. The Council of the City of Waterville hereby determines that the Waterville Housing Rehabilitation Program is a Type 2 action and that no further action or review relative to this project is required.
I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution number 9560 as written.
I'll second.
Discussion.
One last time with the housing rehab grant. This is the secret review. And again, housing rehab grants is rehabilitation of 1 and 2 families to ensure that they meet building and fire code and improve energy efficiency. And that is defined as a Type 2 action. Therefore, there's no further action or review necessary.
Call the roll.
Councilman Petroselli.
In favor.
Councilman McGrattan.
In favor.
Mayor Manning.
In favor.
Mr. Mayor, to the best of my knowledge, that's all we have in new business.
Okay. Appropriations accounting.
None.
Anything before public?
I have a few we're going to discuss. Okay.
Sure.
The couple things that we met this week with Corporation Counsel Jordan and David Lee and Frank Cohn on the internet situation. We were going to discuss that tonight and talk about the internet at the Dome. We had that. Was there any questions or concerns about that? Because we were thinking about having this as a resolution, but then it was pulled. So they were looking for a discussion.
It came in late yesterday. No one really had a chance to look at it. It was one of the comments.
Yeah, I didn't know that it was being reviewed again, and saw it yesterday about 3 o'clock, but one of the questions that I had was just, what the plan was of doing it. The resolution stated that, put Wi-Fi in the dome, but how we were doing that or whatever that was. So I did receive an email today from David Wheatley explaining what he thought the process would be, so take a look at that and review it. I think in the past it was cost and liability, at least from general manager standpoint, cost and liability are always the major concern. So as always, if those concerns are answered, then certainly have my approval.
Okay, but as and well, you you probably had a discussion with Jordan on the liability. I think we had that worked out right on that flash page.
Well, that was all, the issue has always been to have Wi-Fi terms and conditions in the splash page.
Right.
So when we met the other day, the liability concerns are always there. The splash page doesn't eliminate, the
No, never.
right, the
Sure.
potential liability that could occur, such as, I'm not a technical person, and, there are probably more technical people here, but, whether or not it's filtered, unfiltered, whether or not there's protections that would prevent, copyright infringement or downloading files and music and things of that nature, or the stealing of personal, data or information or any other types of liability. So as we talked about, those liability concerns are still there. What we did work out, of course, was the cost of it. Dave had sent an email with respect to the type of equipment and the cost associated there too, and how it would be implemented to provide, Wi-Fi access at the Dome. So it appears that that has been, that information has been provided.
And we were talking, what, roughly
Yeah, I mean,
$359?
router $56.91, the Nectar Nightwalk $242.95, Wi-Fi extender $70.99. So
Pennies.
that's the
500 or below.
those are the quotes.
Yeah.
So, as Councilman Patricelli brought this topic back up, certainly there are other municipalities that have, free, Wi-Fi access. We talked about the city of Albany. We talked about, the city of Saratoga. That's where we got the sample template for Wi-Fi terms and conditions. The main issue becomes, with respect to if there is, liability that can be imposed upon the city of Watervliet, what if any insurance coverage that we had? We talked about this back in 2017, I believe. I know Matt Petro, our insurance agent, got back to us. The city of Watervliet has certain, personal identity protection if our information is stolen, social security number, data, things of that nature. But the issue becomes, I don't believe that there would be any coverage with respect to an individual who accesses our Wi-Fi and steals other person's, personal information, if that at all could possibly occur. And the other issue is, you always have to be concerned about, the predator situation and luring children through the internet and, going on sites that are not, I guess, appropriate. Yes, thank you. So, yeah, certainly the cost has worked out, and obviously it's a decision that's up to the council, and, we know that you go to the airport, you go to other places, there's free Wi-Fi. Municipality obviously is different, but there are other municipalities that certainly have, Wi-Fi access. So, it's my understanding.
So we got all the info.
What's that?
We got all the info now, came trickled in today. We'll review it and be ready for next meeting.
Yeah, but certainly the splash page we talked about, and that's something that, Frank Cohn can, implement and have all the disclaimers and all the notices to the users of the Wi-Fi that it's implemented. So we certainly did discuss that. And Frank was,
He also mentioned about the filters too. There's a good portion of it is filtered.
right, yeah, we did say that, yeah.
You could give us the cost of equipment. You can give us the cost of Frank Cohn's insurance, other aspects of this.
Well, Frank Cohn, his fee is part of his agreement, so there's no additional cost, to my understanding, for Frank Cohn to assist us in implementing this if it's approved. That's what you said during our meeting. Correct.
And the other cost may be the insurance, or would our insurance go up because we're doing this?
Or is it covered?
Or is it covered?
Yeah, I don't,
I'll follow back up with our insurance agent to check on that. Again, with the new insurance company.
Insurance company, so check. Cool.
There was another topic that I mentioned, I think it's only right that the public hear about it too, was the article that was in the Altamont paper on the reservoir and DEC. Could you mention that?
Yeah, so out near the Waterville Reservoir out in Guilderland, there's an old business that was out there called the Rustic Barn, not to be confused with one in Rensselaer County. It was a little shop, a little mom and pop shop, but it also acted as a landscaping company. And it had been closed down for about 15, 20 years now. And a neighbor was wandering around on the property and saw that in the building there were some old pesticides and herbicide bags that were in there. And so we contacted the fire department from the town of Guilderland, and they subsequently called DEC. DEC went out there and did a remediation and a cleanup of all of it. It's close to the reservoir, so there's obviously concerns that somehow, with it being open to the elements, it could have gotten into the reservoir. The reservoir is tested for those types of contaminants. There's been nothing that has shown up, and DEC and Department of Health have no reason to believe that any of those contaminants have made it into the reservoir. There's nothing specifically that connects that property to the reservoir. But we're still obviously continuing to follow up on it, but it does bring up kind of one of the things that we're looking towards in 2019, which is our watershed management and updating all of our watershed management plans. Kind of talked about our water infrastructure, and we always talk about raindrops or faucet, and we've kind of started at faucet with some infrastructure work and are working our way back to the reservoir, and that's where we are now, with some studies within the reservoir being done, and now we can start to look at the watershed as well. But definitely a concerning issue that this can happen out there, and we have very little oversight of private property, especially because it's outside of our jurisdiction, because it's the town of Guilderland. But we've been working with the town, Department of Health, and DEC to remedy the situation, and we'll be looking further into if there's any other areas like this that are out there. So, concerning, but no reason to believe that it has done anything horrible.
The other item we were talking about too is we've been meeting a couple of times now with the revising some of the policies on the tree regulations. Where do we stand now with that?
Yeah, I was really hoping that the chair of the tree committee would have been here tonight, but I don't see Lois. I don't think she was able to make it. Probably would have been helpful for her to go over this, but at the first tree committee meeting, the tree committee has 5 members, 3 of which are resident members, 2 are city staff. Myself and Paul Lavassiere, the building inspector, are the city staff. Lois Gundrum is the chair of the committee. Paul Farr is the secretary of the committee, and Bill Farr is also a member on the committee. At the first meeting, it was talked about the law itself, about the trees. There were 2 topics that were brought up. The first one was the fee. To have a tree removed, it was stated in there that it's $50 per tree. And again, this is just in the public right-of-way. If it's within your property, you don't need a permit for it. So one of the things that was brought up was there was a person there who had just bought a house and has 6 dead trees in the public right-of-way. And said, it would cost that person $300 just for the permits to have them removed. So we had discussed and gone around with some language, looked at some other sections of the code, but it was simply suggested that it just be a flat $50 fee to have trees removed in the public right-of-way on your property.
Per application?
Per application, yes. So that information was brought up, and that was suggested. The next that was suggested for change was trees that were planted by the city, I guess not approved by a property owner, but basically we kind of narrowed that down to trees that were planted during a city infrastructure project. And I was asked to look into drafting some sort of language for that. And so we put together some language that met those needs, and was presented at the tree committee meeting. Now, and again, without having the minutes published yet, or having the chair here, who really should be the person presenting this information, there's 2 sides to the language that's in there. Some members of the committee felt that the language should not be changed, some did, and so what was suggested was to bring that language up to the council to begin a discussion as to how that language should be in there, if that language should be in there, and any changes to be made to that. So I don't know that I have that specific language with me right here, but basically to say that if a tree was planted during a city infrastructure project, specifically included 19th Street and 3rd Avenue with the trees that were placed in the roadside bioretention units, they would not be the responsibility of the adjacent property owner, and instead would be the responsibility of the city, and therefore all the taxpayers, not that taxpayer. So that is basically how the language was read in there. And again, there was concerns on both sides. There was some for that language, some against, and so that leads us to where we are today. But the recommendation from the tree committee was to have a starting point for discussion for that. In hopes, and then the tree committee was looking for if the council wanted the tree committee to provide any further guidance on that.
So are we preparing to have a discussion now or a discussion at the resolution? I mean, we've been discussing this till the trees could be in their second or third ring by now.
You guys are the council.
Well, that's why I'm asking this, because I mean, we've been talking about it. Are we going to bring together a resolution? Are we ready for
It's a
it?
local law. The law has to be changed. You have to have a public hearing.
Okay.
There's a whole system for it.
Right, so can we start the process for the system? We'll have a local, introduce for a public law or public hearing for the next meeting?
Yeah, we certainly can. I just, from what has been recommended, it's, you know, I frankly don't like the way it's worded. Certainly, I'll put whatever suggestions that I have. Ultimately, I'm not the, I'll use ultimate again, ultimate decision maker. But it's going to be difficult to sort of craft some language to discern, you know, right now, I guess the draft recommendation is that the homeowner will not be responsible if the tree was planted by the city, county, or other entity. And it goes on. So, you know, certainly you can identify certain projects where a city tree was planted, but then, you know, how is it that you could make this where you're going to prevent somebody from going, you know, and saying that, hey, this tree was planted by the city, and then you get into some sort of disagreement. Well, how do you know? You know, how do you know it wasn't planted by the previous landowner? So it raises a lot of potential issues, but you know, listen, we did a lot of work to try to draft this, as we know. It started, you know, I can't remember when, but there's a lot of drafts, and, you know, frankly, I thought the finished product was something that was workable, and obviously it was passed by the council. But I'll definitely I'll start working on it and have something. See if we can pass something. So it'll be a local law to revise certain sections. I mean, the dollar amount, I mean, that's easy, it's just changing the words. The ultimate issue is, you know, that one section. I mean, one of the other recommendations, I think, were to eliminate, you know, cutting, trimming, or pruning trees in the public right of way. I mean, I think that language should stay, but, you know, I'll put something together and we'll distribute it and we'll have everybody's input. Sorry for the long response.
It's a good one, though.
Oh, thanks. I mean, does that answer your question?
I mean, I just wanted to be, you know, proceed. We've been talking about it for a long time, so I think we should have something ready by next meeting.
You just got the info.
Well, you might have gotten info, Mayor, but we've been talking about this, and the emails that went out weeks ago for the suggestions. And 2 months ago, we talked about this at the meeting, so, you know, we're going to have it. Because I think the meeting that they had for the tree committee was December 3rd.
Yeah.
Got the verbiage after.
Yeah, her email was, I understand what you're saying, but I think her email was, her being misconstrued, the email was, whatever, with
Last week.
attachment. Oh, it was?
Yeah, she sent it last week, actually.
Last week,
December 3rd.
for the, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with the,
No, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything, but I understand the point.
And the only thing finally I have is on December 30th at 4 o'clock. I'm going to be inviting anybody which wishes to attend for the swearing in at the Historical Society building. And we'll have refreshments and things here at the senior center. So, everybody is welcome. Please join us. Thank you. I'm done.
January 3rd is the next meeting of the city council. It's a quick turnaround after the new year, so I'll apologize ahead of time if an agenda doesn't get out much earlier, but it's a lot of housekeeping that'll be on there, so there'll probably be a lot of items on the agenda that time, but a couple of things to keep in mind, and that will be brought up then. We are working with the town of Colony on an agreement to pick up garbage in the hamlet or village of Maplewood, and hopefully we can get something done by that time and get that out there. And also, we have a contract that we're reviewing right now with NYSERDA that gives the city an $80,000 no-match grant to reduce the carbon footprint, and that would be to replace all the city-owned lights with LED lights. That would significantly cut back on the city's costs and continue to follow along with the city's climate action plan. So there's another couple of things to be prepared for the January.
Sound good? Scott, let's roll the public comment period.
At this time, the council is authorized a public comment period. If you wish to address the council, you must step forward, state your name and address for the record, and you will have 2 minutes to address the council on any matters you wish. At the end of your comment, the council may reply or choose to reply at a later date, if they so choose. And just to throw it out there, I think earlier when Jeremy answered some of Mr. Euban's comments from the previous meeting, I think that's an easier way to do things. So if you don't get a response right away, then you might go on to the next meeting. Just kind of be patient so we can get the answers you're looking for. So, anybody wants to come up? Come on up. Sure they can hear.
Oh, yeah. All you man, 1500 12th Avenue, Watervliet. In the spirit of Christmas, I have no comments. But I'd like to wish all Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy, prosperous New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank
You can't save your time for the next meeting.
It's hard to follow that. Anyone else want to go?
I got something to say. Jim Chartrand, 707 5th Street, Watervliet. In reference to the new grants coming out with the housing, people getting the federal grants, I went behind some of the work, from the former contractors. And some of the work, not all of it, was shoddy at best. And these contractors were getting paid. I personally feel that the homeowners should have to sign off before the contractors get paid. I had an example down at 249 Broadway where we had 400 parts per million carbon dioxide in a basement. What happened was the contractor dropped the mortar, he redid the chimney, but he took the old bricks and mortar and dropped it in the chimney and backed up the furnace and a hot water tank. If we don't find that call as at a fire department, we could have had probably fatalities at that address. So I've talked to numerous people that were real grateful for the money, but the work that was done, the doors weren't shut right, they weren't closing, the windows weren't put in right. The homeowner should have to sign off for these people to get their money. Also, what happens is you have a general contractor come in, and they group everything together. They're not licensed electricians, they're not licensed plumbers, but they do the work. I've gone behind some of the work and fixed some of the stuff that they've done, and it's not right. So that's something else to think about. They do the work themselves when it comes to the skilled stuff, you know, the electrical and the plumbing. And things are leaking, there's not boxes put in behind the electrical. It's a recipe for disaster. So it's something to think about.
Jim, on some of those, aren't they inspected by the underwriters after if they do electrical, or they're not?
not the small stuff. There's small
So
stuff
there's
that
no
gets,
requirement.
yeah.
I mean, that should be a requirement possibly,
Look to see if it is, I don't.
because you can make but you can make a requirement that they, even for the small stuff, that they come in and do an inspection for it. The other issue is, I would be very concerned about asking a homeowner to sign off on something that they're probably trusting the contractor to, because most likely they don't have an idea of what they're signing off on.
Well,
I understand what you mean.
It's probably some of the small stuff, like you said. They wouldn't know if the header was put in right or whatever, but they wouldn't know that my door doesn't lock. My door doesn't shut, it doesn't lock. Nothing's lining up. Also, this city, I don't know what it would take, but this city does not require licensed electricians, I don't know about plumbing, but licensed electricians. You can have a handyman come in and just do any kind of electrical in the city, and it's not licensed. If you get caught down in the city of Albany doing work without a license, you're going to get hung. If you don't get a permit down there in reference to big work, not the small stuff where you're going to put a fan up for somebody, but if you're going to go down, you're going to wire a home, and you get caught down there, they'll bring charges up on you.
I thought we did have a license requirement for inspection for electrical. I think there is a requirement, not for plumbing, but for electrical, I thought there was.
It depends on how they pull the work. If he's a licensed electrician, but some of that, like, you might be in there working and you replace an outlet, just because you're there.
Right.
If it's on the work permit, it's got to be inspected and released by a
Right.
Because we had a guy here last year trying to get on our list. If it's on the work,
But you have to make an application to the underwriters. You got to ask them.
I'm not talking replacing an outlet. I mean, you're not going to get, for the most part, that inspected. Let's face the facts, you know. But it's the regular work.
I'll follow up on all of your comments, Mr. Chartrand, and get some more of that information and what we do and what we don't do right now, and find a way to make sure that it's being followed through.
Tatiana Moran, 2318 3rd Avenue. I wanted to know when you expect the community center to be done construction or done for people to enjoy it and utilize it.
Yeah, so the project has to be completed by December of next year, so I would conservatively say December of next year, but hopeful that by the end of the summer we can do some sort of ribbon cutting for it or something along those lines. One thing to keep in mind is that the work that's being done over there is really structural, electrical, plumbing, ADA compliance, code. So there may be some other, the building may be ready, but we may want to do some other things in there before we have anything, whether it's bringing in new lights, for plays or performances or things like that. But the building structurally, electrically, plumbing and heating, that's what's going to be done in this project. So it'll be presentable. What's that?
Is it going to have AC?
I don't know if we'll have air conditioning. Heat, yes, but not sure about air conditioning.
I would vote for air conditioning if I could say so.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Because the civic center doesn't have AC. It'd be nice if one of our communities.
right now it doesn't have heat.
It's cool in there now.
I also wanted to know if you're still getting that community garden, if there's any movement on that, or if it's looking like it's not going to happen, or is going to happen, or what's going on.
No, there has been movement on it. We are still looking into it. Planning Director David Wheatley's been in touch with Capital Roots to get going. There's a lot of preliminary work that they require before they'll step in, soil testing and things of that nature. So as soon as the ground thaws in the spring, we'll probably get some soil testing done and then get started on it. So.
Last time I asked about it, you said you were thinking out some spots. Have you picked some spots?
Yeah, so we've reviewed a couple of different spots, one in Clinton Park and then one down at the 4th Street Tunnel to go to the bike path. There's a little grass area there, a little pocket park.
Like going towards Spring Island? I don't know.
4th Street down Port Schuyler where you can get on the bike path.
It's in the big smokestack, colored smokestack.
Yeah, near past no paints.
And Clinton Park is where?
Clinton Park is just off 19th Street and between 8th Avenue and
3rd Street.
Oh, okay, that's okay, great. And then also, I just wanted to say that a lot of cities are doing the city Wi-Fi thing. And I think it's important that Waterville, even though it's small, I think it's pretty mighty, and we should, be as modern as any other city can be. And I think the citizens really like to see citywide Waterville. And so, I know there's technicalities and, laws and liabilities, but I think if other cities can do it, we can do it. So I just want to encourage you guys to keep working on that. We appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you for saying small and mighty, I appreciate that. Agree.
Anyone else, Don? No?
Nothing other than what Mr. Eubank said.
Okay. Well, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I'm requesting that we adjourn into executive session, that the council, myself, Jordan Eubank, Corporation Counsel, City Clerk Scott O'Reilly join. We do have to discuss 2 personnel matters and a union matter,
Okay. Make a motion.
and a litigation matter, excuse me.
Okay. Overtime. Need a motion to go to the meeting?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn to executive session.
Second.
Okay. Clerk call the roll.
Mayor Manning?
In favor?
Councilman Petroselli?
In favor.
Councilman McGrath?
In favor.
We're adjourning executive session. We have a third room. Remember, happy holidays. We'll see you next year.